everybody. So we are very excited today. We are here for our first ever live episode of the Hallmarkies Podcast. And we are part of the Guy at the Movies Virtual Film Festival. And so when our Hallmarkies friends are listening to this on Wednesday, if it sounds a little bit different, that's because this is all live. It's very exciting. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I have two guests today. Anne is here. Co-host Anne.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, and special guest today, Andre is here from Backseat Directors. Yes, thank you so much. Your first time on the Hallmarkies Podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is very exciting. I hope I fit in.
Don't worry. It'll be great. So we also have, which we normally don't have because we don't record live. We have a comments section open on the YouTube stream. So if people are watching this and they want to add their comments, please do so, and we'll try to read as many of those as we can as we go. So today we are talking about, I was thinking about what we could talk about that would be fun, and that, it's a Guy at the Movies Film Festival. So what romantic comedy is very bro-tastic? And I thought about the 2005 movie Hitch. So this is pretty fun. And Anne, is this one that you saw in the theaters that you enjoyed, or was this a first time watch for you?
Remember, this is definitely a second time watch. I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters or not. I remember watching it with my friends. So I definitely remember that. I don't know if I saw it in the theater, but I did watch it today. So right.
What about you, Andre?
Oh, I've seen this movie a dozen times at least. But I did not see it in theaters when it came out. I was not in the country when it came out, and so I think it debuted February 2005. I know I saw it later that year in 2005, but now this is in terms of rom-coms, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah. So I actually was also out of the country. Well, not out of the country, out of movie goingdom. I was also on my my mission for my church in 2005, and so I didn't see it at the theater, but I did catch up on it and really enjoyed it. And what do you think? And did you think it held up pretty well on the rewatch?
I think it did. I was kind of worried because, whenever you rewatch something in 2020, there's usually a few like, ooh, they wouldn't do that now, or that's not politically correct. But I thought it held up pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Andre?
One of the things, and I just wanted to say this because did you say bro-tastic?
I think it is bro-tastic. Yeah.
Because I find that actually really fascinating, because I would agree with you. I never thought of it that way though, because the genre it's a romantic comedy. Yeah. But I think this is one of the very few romantic comedies from the point of a male protagonist. And so and that's something that I've as a guy, I really enjoy. But Will Smith is incredible in this movie. This is this is a perfect Will Smith movie. It really is.
Yeah, I think that pretty much it does hold up. I will talk a little bit more about it. The only part that maybe would be different, I think, in 2020 is the fact that the Allegra character, like the fact that she gets kind of wooed at work. I feel like that's something that we don't see as much now, because she needs to be able to go to work and not be oogled, or there needs to be a separation between that. Now I feel like there's a lot more hesitancy now than there used to be with that kind of a plot. And I think
sound
that's
like Michael Scott.
Part. I think that's the one part
no
that
office
would be
romances.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is the one part that would probably be changed now. But it's fine. It's handled, I think, well enough. But I don't know. I think that's the one part that might be different now than in 2005. And even in Hallmark, I think they tried to move away from like workplace romances and stuff, because it just you know, in the age of Me Too, you have to be really careful with that kind of thing, I think. So, well, let's talk about the movie. Yes, as you said, this is totally Will Smith's movie, and he is super charming and charismatic, and especially I think at the beginning, the first like 30 minutes when he's in full Hitch mode, I think he is really, really charming. Would you agree, Andre?
Oh, 100%. But that's Will Smith's MO. He is extremely charismatic, and any movie that he plays in, it, you know, even if it's in an action movie, the persona of Will Smith it's just very charming. And so the fact that it's displayed in like on full in this romantic comedy it's just an enjoyable performance by Will Smith for sure.
Yeah. Well, for a while there, he was trying to win his Oscar. He was doing all these serious movies. And, I mean, especially After Earth. Oh man, that movie is tough. That is.
We don't talk about that movie.
and I don't know, movies like 7 Pounds and things like that are just so heavy. That it was kind of refreshing to go back and watch this and be like, oh yeah, he's super charming. And he's had a very good last couple of years. I mean, everybody, even if I didn't love the new Aladdin, but I think everybody was kind of won over by his performance in there. So I don't know. Do you have a favorite Will Smith performance, Anne?
I really do like this one. I also really like the Bad Boys series. My husband wishes he was Will Smith, so he loved Will Smith. He thinks he's for real. So he's always like, whenever there's a Will Smith movie, he wants to see it. So we always do. But we like the Bad Boys series. I think him and Martin Lawrence play off well of each other, and it's action and comedy. So it shines with that. I'm not fan of the more serious ones. I think he really shines with comedy. Not that he's not very talented at doing the more serious stuff. I just don't like serious things. It's just not me. So yeah.
So he gives his basic principles of dating in this beginning, and I want to talk about some of them with you guys and see if you agree with what he says. So he says that. He starts out with, no woman wakes up saying, God, I hope I don't get swept off my feet today. And that even if they basically, like all women, even if they say they don't want a relationship, even if they say they're really busy, everybody actually really does want a relationship. And I think that is definitely very true. Like everybody wants to fall in love. Like who doesn't want to have that happen in your life? Like, right?
Right, or at least for me, right?
Yeah, I mean, you both are married, so you have a one up on me on this, but yeah, I think that's very true. That you know, for all the protesting that modern women might do, we all want to fall in love, right? I think so. Yeah. And also he says 60% of all human communication is nonverbal body language. 30% is your tone. So that means that 90% of what you're saying ain't coming out of your mouth. Do you agree with that, Andre?
As with many of these things, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, even though from a kind of more psychological perspective, these might be true statistics, and obviously statistics don't apply to everybody, but there's a lot of stuff that he says that it would be hard to disagree with in terms of the general population. And so, yeah, so I mean, some, you know, like that, yes, I agree. Again, not applicable to everyone, obviously, like it can't, but on a broader sense, yes, I do agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I do agree. I think that maybe it's just because I'm a very talkative person. And so I think it's a little high that the 30% is tone, 60% is nonverbal. I don't know if I'd go there. What do you think, Ian?
What did he say for the body language? I thought that was high. I was like, ugh.
He says 60% is nonverbal body language.
I think that's kind of high. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that can't control my face, so that is kind of me.
I'll give you.
So maybe
I'll give you guys a small anecdote. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with he in the last few years he's become very famous or infamous, maybe depending on who you ask, but he's a psychology professor out of the University of Toronto, Jordan Peterson. But anyway, I just listened to this lecture that he gave talking about eye contact and why on magazines that it rarely shows a person on a magazine that's not looking straight at you, because eye contact is one of the most key nonverbal gestures or forms of communication that humans give off, that when someone is looking at us, we can't help but look back. And so body language, stuff like eye contact. I mean, maybe the numbers aren't there, but it is very important.
Well, the hard part about that for me is that I have what's called a strabismus in my eye, basically like a lazy eye. And I've had surgery on it twice. And so eye contact is actually really hard for me. So when I hear that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh no. I mean, that's why I love podcasting. I can just talk.
Hey, well, if it's any consolation, Rachel, I could not tell whatsoever. I had no idea that
thank you.
Had surgeries or anything. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
Well, I had to work really hard to it's a conscientious effort on my part to have good eye contact, because it's not something that's natural to me, and so it's been a struggle my whole life. But thank you, I appreciate that. And we did have some comments. Colleen Lowe, who is my co-host on the Francast that we do, she says, I don't remember if I saw it in the theater, but I've probably seen it 15 times over the years. It's still so hilarious. And she says, this is my favorite film role for him, but you can't beat Fresh Prince. So yeah, I think. And this is an interesting thing. He says, my job is to open her eyes. Basic principles, no matter what, no matter when, no matter who, any man has a chance to sweep any woman off her feet. He just needs the right broom. What do you think about that, Anne? Do you agree?
It's hard. It's like I agree to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think that unique circumstances can help you see somebody. I just don't know if it's like any person ever, but I do think that you can highlight somebody by putting them in the path and by helping them be seen.
Yeah,
they could have a chance, and that's definitely, important, because that's what I'll tell you need is a chance for someone to really see you. And so I don't know. It's like I kind of wrestle with it. I'm not sure about any person ever. I don't know. Like it's like a famous like me. Like I would love to be Chris Evans' wife, but that's not going to happen because I'm just me. So like
he is single. But yeah, what do you think about that, Andre?
Oh, I don't know if I feel qualified to answer that.
I don't agree. I mean, I think that there are so many aspects of a person that make for a connection or not. I think that you have so many factors like say religion, say lifestyle, say there's so many things that I don't think that any man can be with any woman. I just don't. There's too. I think that there's a pretty big pool, and we probably don't have the pool big enough. We probably sort of think that it's more narrow than it is, but I'm not willing to go the other stretch and say literally anybody can be with anyone. I don't think that's true. There's too many factors that come into play, but who knows? I'm single, so what the heck do I know?
No, I think that's a fair answer, though. I do. I think that's a fair answer. It's probably way too I don't know, too much of an impossibility to say that that any man could be with any woman. But I don't believe that the more, I guess, fantastical romantic notion that you have one soulmate and one person only is like, that I do not subscribe to that type of belief.
Yeah, and his whole point is to try to give these men sort of more confidence and to help them to believe that they can get the attention of these women that they think are way out of their league. And I kind of like how later on he talks about how that like women just expect guys to have all of this confidence and not be nervous and they don't realize how hard it is sometimes. And I think that's definitely true. That we can be like, why don't you just ask her out? Why don't you just, that we think it's easy, but it's not. It's definitely not always easy. So we had comments from Donna Jo Strickler. She says, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Working for a principal of a high school, I talk with parents every day. Mostly they are upset. And so it's how you deal with conflict, how you manage that. And she also says, still really love Independence Day is her favorite. So I always laugh at that the Independence Day resurgence that they just have this painting of Will Smith and
Hey, well, at least Will Smith knew not to sign up for that movie. Okay.
He did. And so he says that he says you cannot use what you do not have. If you are shy, be shy. If you are outgoing, be outgoing. And I think that is very true.
Yeah.
That you're definitely not going to win over anybody by pretending to be somebody that you're not. That's not going to, maybe for a first date, everybody does it a little bit on the first date. But you have to be yourself. And I don't know, both of you are married. So without maybe getting too personal, is that something in your dating experience that's something that you can relate to at all? What was your first dates kind of like? Were they super awkward, or did it just feel natural, or what about that? What about that?
Well, for me, like my husband and I were friends for like 6 months-ish before, and so we were friends, and then actually some reflection and some stuff just kind of helped me like see him in a different way. Hey, that sounds weird, but one day I kind of saw him differently, and then and so then like our friendship just kind of developed into more than a friendship. So,
that's so cool. That's the ideal. That's the dream.
Yeah, it is, because then you really know somebody kind of before, and so they're not like, just like you said, pretending to be somebody else or like putting on some show.
Yeah. And I think that you can tell when you're being given an act when it's not authentic, and that I'd rather have somebody that's super nervous and awkward than somebody that's trying to be all slick and like, that's not. Yeah. And so he also says that he gives more of his dating tips. He says, listen to what she is saying and respond. And I'd say that's a general just being an effective person, not even just a dater.
Listening is an important thing to do in any relationship, friendship, parenting. I mean, any kind of,
Yeah. And not be thinking ahead of time what you are going to say and while they're talking. Yeah. And so that's a very easy trap to fall into if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, especially like when you're having an argument with somebody, your mind is kind of doing like what you just said, thinking what you're going to say when they stop talking, which is not listening to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it just makes you feel frustrated if the person isn't listening. And a lot of times that thinking ahead of time can be a way of sort of judging that person. Like I'm anticipating ahead of time what you're going to say, and it's not going to be either that I'm going to judge that you are going to say something unkind or you're going to say something whatever, and so you're kind of preparing. It's like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We lost Andre. I'm not sure what happened to him. Hopefully he can come back. But he says, great love happens in a blink of an eye. 3 dates is all you need. And then the first kiss will tell you everything you need to know about the relationship. Since you had a little bit more of a friends to partners relationship, do you agree that 3 dates is all you need?
I don't think 3 dates is all you need.
No.
I will say that my college minister, he kind of said, like, 3 months, you know if someone's by 3 months, you should know if someone's the one or not. And I would say I agree with that statement. That's a lot different than 3 dates. It's a lot longer. But I mean, within 3 months, I certainly said one. But I mean, yeah, 3 dates that's not long enough to know. I mean, you should, I guess, know if you don't like somebody for sure in 3 dates.
Yeah.
But not like if they're the one, you know.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you do know. And I've known couples. My cousin Kristen, she had an incredibly fast courtship. She met her husband in like March or April, and then they got married in June. Wow. And still married, and that was like, I don't know, 2002. I mean, they've been married a long time. Mm-hmm. And so you never know. It can be very, very fast. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you more. I think you know that it's not working by 3 dates. I think that but
probably even maybe by the end of one, depending how long.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't like that.
Yeah, I think that pretty much, I mean, so he has his like nightmare, like the date goes completely wrong, but there's enough in there to at least tell her that he was trying and that there's potential there. So yeah, the on How I Met Your Mother, Barney had the lemon rule, and that supposedly within what did he say? Within 30 minutes of a first date, you could tell whether the person, and there's a whole episode, the lemon, you could tell if it's a lemon. Oh. And I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think that you can usually tell by the end of the first date if it's like completely not a match.
Yeah.
And so what you have here is then you have, he says, life is not about the number of breaths you take. It's the moments that take your breath away. So that was pretty Hallmark cardy. I feel like.
That was good. I was like, oh yeah, I've been saying this before. And I was like, it's still good.
So this is when we get introduced to Eva Mendes' character. And what did you think about her? Did you like her performance in the film?
I did. I liked her performance. I thought her character was kind of interesting, just because she's just very, I guess, not the typical woman we would see in a Hallmark film. She's kind of a cynic and kind of that kind of person, but I thought she did well. I like her. I thought she did a good job.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they should have named her Sarah. I feel like that does not fit her character at all. I don't know. I mean, that's a small nitpick, but I would picture her with even Maria, I think, would be better, or just, I don't know, just don't seem like a Sarah to me. Yeah. But yeah, I think she's really good. She's playing this like cynical journalist who is bitter about love, and she is pretty skeptical of Will Smith at the beginning, but I think that you see her change and grow throughout the course of the film. And you also get to learn about Will Smith's character, Hitch's nerd days in college.
Oh, I love it.
Would you liked nerdy Will Smith?
Yeah, I was like, oh, they had his flashback, and I was like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah, Cressida
bad for him.
Cressida Baylor, she's
oh my god,
she's the worst.
Yeah, I remember that. When I saw that scene, I was like, oh, I remember this scene in the rain.
Yeah. And I'd forgotten completely about that whole part. So she cheats on him and ruins his faith in women, and he becomes kind of cynical himself in a way. Even though he's giving all this dating advice, he doesn't actually take it himself very well. And so then we get to meet Albert Brenneman, played by Kevin James.
Yeah.
And what did you think about him? He's introduced as he's born without game. He has no game.
Well, I love Albert. I just think that Kevin James did a really good job playing him. He's so funny throughout the course of the movie, just this different things that he does and says, and how he's taking Hitch's advice and stuff. Is Kevin? He did a great job. It was fun. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's a little bit interesting about his character is you wouldn't expect somebody like Albert to even have the confidence at all to go after Allegra. And I mean, maybe that's what helps you buy the fact that they do end up together, that he is more confident than it would seem, just to even have the thought of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. To really be willing to really do it. Go through with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a bit of a cliche that you have in a lot of romantic comedies, that you have the teddy bear man with the gorgeous model woman, and that's fine. But I do wish that you'd have it flipped around every now and then. You almost never see.
That's very true. You pretty much never see it flipped.
Yeah. That in fact, they had talked about a while back of doing a gender swapped version of Splash, and they were going to have Channing Tatum as the mermaid, and then they were going to have Jillian Bell, I believe, as the Tom Hanks character. And not that she's like super overweight or anything, but she's just like normal. And I think that could be really interesting. That would be, I don't know. Oh, I'd be for it. I think it could be interesting.
I think they should do, one where it's like a plus size woman and a gorgeous man. I enjoyed Rebel Wilson's movie.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, with Liam and.
Isn't it romantic with her and Liam Hemsworth? I think that any Hallmarkie enjoyed that movie more than most. We should probably do an episode on it eventually, because it was so much satire about Hallmark movies.
Yeah, pretty much making fun of them the whole time. But it was because I was like, it was fun.
And when she goes to the romantic comedy world, and everything's like covered with fake flowers, and the lighting is like super bright. It made me laugh so hard. So then he admits his crush on Allegra, and then his main problem doesn't seem to be a lack of confidence, or really a lot of problems. His main problem seems to be he's just super clumsy and messy.
That's true. He is very clumsy and messy. That's probably a big part of it. I think his confidence maybe a little bit, because he just, like you said, he just really needed to be in the right place at the right time, and like have confidence to say something when he was in that place at that time.
Yeah.
Other than that, then he was, he really, once the ball was rolling, he was okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so, he, most of it's just like, stay out of his way, because he's like a disaster area when it comes to walking, or like any kind of putting any kind of condiment on
particularly
anything. Yeah, with mustard. And so then he defends Allegra at this board meeting where she wants to invest in her friend's business. And they all say, oh, no, we'll give you a list of proper investments or whatever. And he's like, no, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. And so that was a nice moment, I think, for his character, because it's not even really what Hitch is teaching him to do. It's his own personality kind of coming out and defending her. And then you have you have a little bit of a meet cute between Will Smith and Eva Mendes' character. And then you get some of that chemistry, and then you have him making it very clear that he is not a hit it and quit it business. So you have this jerk that wants him to just arrange a hookup, and he tells him, "I actually like women."
Yeah, I liked how he said that. I deal with people who like women, because you obviously don't.
Yeah, and I think that that's a key moment for his character, because you need that to know that he's likable, and that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And so it goes a long way. And so then we get this big elaborate date that he takes her on, where they go jet skiing, and he makes her wake up really early in the morning. That's the only part of it that I would be like, 7 a.m. Are you crazy?
Yeah, and not to mention that I don't know how to ride a jet ski or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be like, I don't know how to do this.
I'm like, you want me to ride it in the Hudson of all places? Yeah. And so they end up at Ellis Island, and he has it all set up where she's going to see her ancestors' name in this log at Ellis Island. But it goes terribly wrong because it turns out that man, that grandfather, was a criminal, and and they're all very ashamed of him. And so I think it's interesting, because you hear about all these sort of elaborate dates, but I think actually just sometimes just talking and doing something very simple, like planning a meal and talking, is all that you really need. You don't need all of this stuff.
You don't need all that stuff to kind of see what's between you, or to learn about somebody.
Yeah. And so then she talks to her friend, and she says, well, he really did try. And so she kind of understands that. And then there's a bunch of sequences where he's giving Albert a bunch of advice on dating, where to put his hand, when to get the approval of the BFF, all of the tips on kissing, all of that. And you're supposedly to go 90% of the way and then hold. And I think that if we judge Hallmark movies, that's probably true.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hold for a long time, because then they get interrupted.
Yeah, exactly. Hold long enough for someone to yell your name or the phone to ring.
That's right.
That's not going to happen.
That's the problem. You just got to go for it. You have a limited time period of when to be able to get a kiss in this scenario. So with, at least if we're judging by Hallmark movies, and I do love the whole scene where he's like, "You don't need to help me with the dancing. I've got that.
That's like the infamous, the famous scene. Because it's just so funny when he's like, "Oh, you don't need to help me."
Yeah.
Define what "you don't need to help me" means, and he plays music.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's why I think that it makes Albert work as a character again, because he has this sort of underlying confidence that he works, is a believable character. But yeah, that's a really funny scene. And then she takes him to a cooking lesson. So this is kind of her chance to kind of mess it up in a way. And I think in her defense, he should have told her that he had these allergies.
They never even said what it was. And I watched it today. I'm like, oh yeah, did they ever say what it is? And I mean, maybe he didn't know, because he never said, oh yeah, I have a blah, blah, blah allergy.
Yeah, maybe he never had. Was it peanuts or something like that?
Yeah, or shellfish. I don't know what it was.
Oh yeah, it could have been shellfish.
No,
yeah, so he blows up like.
Oh my god! that makeup. Wow, that thing they put on his face.
Yeah. And then they're just like chugging the Benadryl. He's like drinking it like it's candy.
Like a Capri Sun.
Yeah, that made me laugh. And so, and then she ends up at, or he ends up at her apartment anyway. She's sleeping on the sofa.
Yeah.
And in the next morning, she thinks that he's like gone, and she's just like, oh, I'm such an idiot. And there he is coming back with the coffee, and really, really cute.
Yeah.
So, and we start to see both relationships kind of grow, and you have the hair removal scene.
Oh,
Albert.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be the worst. I think all of us ladies have experienced some of that, and we can empathize.
Oh yes, I was like, yes, this is the women's. Women go through beauty pain all the time. Men don't really know much about it. It's very painful. The things.
Yeah, and so she finds out that that Hitch is this dating guy through this skeevy guy who wanted to hook up, and so she writes this whole article exposing his business, and how do you think they handled that whole situation? Could you see her point, or do you think?
I mean, I guess because from her perspective, what happened to her friend specifically was, or what she thought happened, was obviously terrible. Like, just to help somebody, hook up with somebody, that's bad. I did understand her viewpoint in the fact of like, now I feel like you were playing me. You knew this stuff about me. I was being worked by someone who's a professional. I can understand that kind of viewpoint when you find out, oh, this person's like a professional person who helps people, and and then you look at your interaction, and you're like, oh, well, how much of them was being real and how much of them was working their little program or step by step play or whatever.
And then they have the whole scene at speed dating, which I think is kind of hilarious. I like that. And he says, does it ever occur to women that that maybe a guy would like to have a plan because he's nervous? And I think that's very true. Mm-hmm. That we kind of assume that it's easy when it's not. And if girls are ever asked to be the instigator, to set up the date and everything like that, a lot of times you were like, oh yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
But Colleen says it was shellfish. So I think because it was sushi or something like that, or some kind of
it was like a fancy thing. That's what made me think it was maybe shellfish.
Yeah. And so then she's watching Jerry Maguire, which I feel like is just the go-to for these kind of movies. If you want them to be watching a rom-com, you complete me. you had me at hello. Maybe next year for a guy at the movies film festival, we'll do Jerry Maguire. That one's a guy centric rom-com as well. So then you have she apologizes, and Albert is just like spiraling. And he says, I've waited my whole life to feel this miserable.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, he loves this woman so much.
I know. And I think we've all had those sort of couples in our lives where you're like, how on earth did you get together? But I'm so glad you did, because you're such an unusual pair. And I think that's probably what Albert and Allegra's family are thinking. Like, what? What's going on? Yeah. But so then and you get the fight between Albert and Hitch, which is pretty hilarious, I think. And so Okay, so then we have the brother-in-law. I do think this part was a little bit groan-inducing. The Hitch shows up at her apartment, and handsome brother-in-law is there, but of course he doesn't know that it's Tom, and it's one of those romantic comedy contrivances that just like a 2-minute conversation would clear everything all up. Like, slow down.
Exceptional things, but music cued to it. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, it's really
and then he says, what if fine isn't good enough? What if I want extraordinary? And so that's pretty good. And this whole scene where he's like jumping on the car and and she's just I think it's supposed to be like a stick car, and it's just like she is not driving it well. I mean, like,
yeah, she was struggling driving it correctly.
No, I think Tom would be like, "Can I drive and let you all handle your stuff?" Yes, and out of the two couples, which would be your favorite? Which do you think has the most chemistry? Which would be your favorite of the two?
So hard.
I know.
Different things I like about both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, when I watched it this time, I have to say I really liked watching Albert and Allegra.
Yeah.
I guess like maybe I just forgot their interaction more and like surprised me more or something. But I just love the way like when he was like they were at the basketball game and like the whistling thing, and then he got the mustard all over him, and he was just like so cute and like so like they were just so happy to like be together, and like it was just I don't know. I really enjoyed their interactions and their chemistry.
Yeah, and I love it when Hitch says to Allegra, that's all Albert. We got Andre back. Yay.
You guys, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry that you didn't get back till so late, but we were just talking.
I have been a part of the conversation literally for almost the entire time. I don't know what happened. I apologize, but I have been a part of it. I'm sorry. I just can't have it contributing. So
what do you think about Hitch and Sarah or Allegra and Albert? What are your opinions on these couples?
Like whose relationship was I more interested in?
Yeah. Who do you like the most? Who do you think will be the most likely to succeed? Do you think?
To succeed?
As a couple.
Gosh, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I can't answer. I can't answer that. I'm every time I watch the movie though, I'm always interested in Sarah and their relationship. And I heard what you said about not liking Sarah's name. that was very funny.
Well, just for Eva Mendes' character, I would expect her to have a little bit more of like a I don't know, just a more exotic name. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Technical difficulties. Sorry, guys. Okay. Albert and Allegra's relationship, the reason why I appreciate it is I think it demonstrates whether or not Hitch is successful at what he's doing and whether or not he's good at what he does as a career. And so, because they're the two most unlikely people to come together. And so if Hitch actually knows what he's doing, then he will be able to succeed in that relationship. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Colleen, she says, I actually think Hitch and Sarah have more chemistry, but I think Albert and Allegra are better overall. And I think that's probably where I'm at. I probably agree with that. Do you think that Hitch is going to continue on being a relationship person? Because he says at the end, basic principles, there are none. Do you think he's going to kind of retool it or he's just going to move on to something else? What do you think, Andre?
Oh gosh. I hope he moves on. Because I think his motivations and his passion behind it is because of the heartbreak that he has had and what it's led him to and the lessons he's learned. But I don't know. It just feels like his mission in this role is complete. but I don't know. I could be wrong.
What do you think, Anne?
Yeah, I mean, the way he ended it, like when he was talking to Allegra, he was like, really? He was like, I didn't do anything. You know, and like you said, at the end, he's kind of like, so it seems like he's going to go away from it. I don't know what he's going to do. Like from his character's perspective, it seems like he's like trying to do something else, find something else.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I would want to say keep doing it, because as a single person, like it's so hard to meet people, and people need that kind of like encouragement. I mean, I would love if I could find a quality matchmaker who's not. I don't know. I've actually looked into it, and I haven't been able to find anything that looked anything really good. And I would love to be able to find a Hitch. I would pay good money for that. If anyone wants to be my Hitch, set me up. I'm ready to go. But yeah, so kind of hope. I feel like singles need people like him, or they'll. If you don't have things like that, you're just stuck with online dating, which is the worst.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Or apps. Maybe he would design the Hitch app. Would be if they ever did a sequel, which I'm kind of surprised they never did. Yeah. I feel like this movie has tons of potential for a sequel, but
and I think the surprising part is because of how successful it was at the box office. One, I was surprised the movie cost $70 million to make. I don't know, other than Will Smith's paycheck, I don't know what they spent $70 million on. Two, it worldwide, I think it grossed over $350 million. It was like a smash hit. It really was.
Yeah. It was a big hit. Yeah, it's surprising.
I will say that it's one of the only rom-coms that when my husband and I were dating that I could get him to watch without talkback or wrestle or convince him. So it's really easy for women to convince their significant other to go and not have like all this. Oh, go with your friends. Oh, go with your mom. Oh, go. And they're like, okay, I'll go. Yeah. Probably help.
So this is a bro-tastic one. So we were saying that, Jerry Maguire would probably be the other bro-tastic romantic comedy.
Yeah, that's actually that's a good call out. Yeah, I agree.
So next year, we all agree next year for Guy at the Movies Virtual Film Festival, we'll do Jerry Maguire. And
I'd be really interested to know like what other bro-tastic rom-coms there are. I bet they're probably not too many, maybe.
Yeah, if anybody has, I mean, there's the whole like Judd Apatow versions, but I know those ones are not very Hallmarkies Podcast friendly. I mean, Jerry Maguire is rated R, but it's pretty tame. But yeah, a lot of them are very vulgar and just not my favorite. But like there's things like Trainwreck and stuff like that. But I don't know, or Knocked Up. But if you have any, let us know in the comments any of your favorite bro-tastic rom-coms. But yeah, so he just says to her at the end, he says, "There's only one person that makes me feel like I can fly." So that's what we like to see in our romantic comedies. and I think his character does get pretty vulnerable, especially for being so like slick and cool, that he has enough uncomfortable moments that make him very endearing for Hitch. So, guy at the movies, he says 51st Dates. I think I would also. I think The Wedding Singer is probably one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, then Adam Sandler's got a few of the bro-tastic rom-coms under his belt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Adam Sandler fan, but there you go. But The Wedding Singer is pretty good. But yeah, so basically that's the movie. That's the Hitch. Out of, if you were giving it 1 to 5 stars, what would you give it, Anne?
3.75.
Very good. All right. What about you, Andre?
It's an easy 4 out of 5 for me. I think its rewatchability is why I rate it so high, is because you really can watch this all the time and not really get sick of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a solid 4 out of 5. I think it totally delivers what it sets out to do, which is all you can ask of a movie. Yeah. I think that it's very sweet, and I like both of the relationships, and it's funny. It makes you laugh. I mean, he's very funny, and I think we forget, because like I said, he did go through that Oscar phase. We forget how funny Will Smith can be with the right material, and just how charismatic he is.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just curious. I'm curious. Do you guys have any, like, do you have your favorite moments of the movie, or do you have any favorite scenes or anything like that?
Probably my favorite moment is probably the whole date. I think is really good. The Ellis Island date.
So
yeah,
that's why I wanted to ask you guys, because I just rewatched it to get ready for our show, and when they get to Ellis Island and he shows her, kind of that genealogy book, and her great grandfather's name is right there, and she gets emotional, and he's like feeling all proud, like I'm breaking her down, and
he's like, that didn't go as well as I hoped.
It was so funny just to see his expectations, or at least what he was hoping to achieve. He got there, but then it went way more than he ever anticipated. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, that just made me think of another This made me think of another brotastic one, is 500 Days of Summer. Totally from his perspective.
That's a great choice. Yeah, that's a great one. And what about favorite moment?
Yeah, I love all the moments where Will Smith is trying to tame Kevin James. Like, the dance thing is obviously
it's up there for sure.
Like, no, don't ever do that, or never lose that, or that. I just think it's just so funny the way Will Smith delivers and Kevin James' responses. It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there we go. I think we covered it. And so, Anne, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at awscott21.
Great. And Andre, what about you?
First, sorry again for the technical difficulties. I hope the show was still watchable for everybody. But just go to backseatdirectors.com. Backseat Directors on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yep.
Yes. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check all of that out. I've been doing a lot of reviews lately. And then also make sure you're following the Hallmarkies Podcast. And you can find us on social media at Hallmarkies Pod or Hallmarkies Podcast. And you can listen to us anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And we also have our YouTube channel at the Hallmarkies Podcast YouTube. So please check all of that out. And we have a lot of fun interviews and other fun stuff that we do every week. And we have our regular episodes on Wednesdays, interviews on Monday. And before you know it, we're already planning the Christmas season. We're going to start doing our previews for Christmas in October. And then the end of October, it starts the official season. And so it's going to be wild and crazy. So make sure you're following us, because you don't want to miss it. It's going to be really fun. And so check all that out. And thanks so much for having us at the festival. And we'll look forward to hearing your thoughts about Hitch. And thanks so much, everybody. And bye, everyone.